always interesting having such knowledge and wisdom into the fire service. Because it's funny because we just a couple episodes ago we were talking about that fire. Like you have this album of all these pictures, and that's something I wish I would have done when I like through my years. Because now I'm regretting like seeing that is kind of jealous. I'm like, man, I don't have any news articles. Now, granted, when I first got on, the newspaper was like a big thing as a rookie. Go get a newspaper before shift starts.
Right.
But it kind of faded away. But I do wish I had something like this album to come back and look at, because you got a lot of good stories. The one with Travis, the 3 kids in that fire. So that's just something I want to try. But we'll go ahead and start. Mic check, mic check. Welcome to another episode of Bull City Bravest Podcast. I'm your boy, Tim McCoy. This is another episode for firefighters, by firefighters, and people who aspire to be firefighters. Today, I got a special guest, a historian in his own right. I have the retired Captain David Young. How you doing, Captain?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
I can't really complain, man. I can't complain. I'm glad to have you in.
Appreciate the invite.
You gotta, like I said, you have a wealth of knowledge. You're one of the first people I met on the Durham Fire Department as far as teaching, because you taught my fire academy, but we'll get all into that. But Patrick, how you feeling, man?
I'm feeling pretty good. We are recording this episode. It's currently 10:06 a.m. on Tuesday, March 17th, so that's at St. Patrick's Day. So I'm going to start us off on that topic. One of the things that surprised me when I first came to this department about 4 years ago was just how big of a deal firefighters make over St. Patrick's Day. What goes into that? Why is that such a thing?
St. Patty's Day?
Oh yeah.
Well, you know the Maltese Cross, where it came. That's not really Irish though. That's over. But I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, the St. Patty stuff is it's just always been tradition. You know, I think. I mean, ever since they've been playing bagpipes and drums since I can remember. And
I'm actually pretty embarrassed to say the same. Like, I really don't. I'm going with the flow. So when I came into the fire service, everybody was celebrating St. Patrick's Day. Like, I didn't do it outside of the fire department. Like, just growing up, like, that wasn't something that we really celebrated. We wore green to school so we wouldn't get pinched, like stuff like that. Right. But like the history of St. Patrick's Day or what it means to the fire service, I just know firefighters walking parades.
Well, you got to think about like the older departments, FDNY,
right,
places like that. A lot of Irish
immigrants
coming onto the fire. And so that's probably where it came to be. Now, how it filtered down to our neck of the woods, it's just a tradition is what it is. So.
It's just a really big thing, man. And I can't. I really don't know other than we walk in parades. Everybody else was doing it. You get the little St. Patrick's Day T-shirt. And then you go to your local pub, off duty. Yeah. Go to your local pub and have a good time with the members.
I think it's just tradition. I know they have big parades in New York, and a lot of firefighters are of that, culture. And so I think that's where it stems from. And they just brought it down. It's down here too. But it's just a good time to it's a reason to get together.
Maybe we have to get a historian when it comes to the St. Patty's to come out
Sean
here.
would probably know. I would think he would.
I'm sure I have to give him a call.
Yeah, I was just curious. I was my first year here. I remember I went to Bull McCabe's downtown. St. Patrick's Day is my first year here, so I was like, hey, let's go try the Irish bar. I've never been there. And half the department seemed to be there.
Yeah, the members today, we're going to be celebrating at James Joyce. You should come out if you come out afterwards.
I like James Joyce. It's a good place.
Yeah. So listen, we'll get into into your history, man. I kind of like you have so much stuff to talk about. I just want to let you kind of run with it. But let's start with the formal introduction of who you are. Kind of where you come from, a little bit about your background, and then we'll go, build from there. So,
well, again, my name is David Young. I'm from Durham. Born here. Grew up here, went to Southern High School.
Go Spartans! Shout out to Spartans. They just won the state championship in basketball. So let's shout them out. Shut them out. Yeah.
Now it's kind of like I went to the old Southern over on Ellis Road. Okay. Not the new. That.
I don't even know what that Southern is at. Is the building still there?
Yeah, it's a part of GlaxoSmithKline.
Oh, okay.
Right there.
I never knew that.
Yeah. So, I was 17 years old, loved sports, played sports my whole life. And one day I was in school, and Billy Lloyd, Captain Lloyd, so I'm walking down the hall, and he had this big thing on his hip. And I said, hey, Billy, what is that? He said, man, it's a pager. He said, I joined the fire department up here. I said, that sounds pretty cool. He said, well, look, we have meetings on Monday night. I said, okay. So I went up there on Monday night, introduced myself, filled out my little application, went to 3 Monday night meetings. They was like, all right, you're on. Here's your stuff. Gave me a long coat, big old plastic helmet, teardrop light, big old pager. And they said, all right, just if it goes off, respond to where it tells you to go. I was like, okay. So that's I got started 17 years old.
17 years old at Bethesda. That's where you went. It's kind of the same today.
And back then, you could leave school when you got a fire call, or we won't run EMS, but you got when you got a fire call, you could leave school in the middle of the day. So of course, page would go off. Man, it was.
Gotta go.
Gotta go.
I can't take this test. That's actually, now that's not the same. But as far as like, I know when I first got on and started volunteering at Redwood, it was a bunch of kids from like Northern High School. And it's kind of like one friend started doing it, wearing a T-shirt to school, and then kind of everyone. So like Kevin Rigsby and all, Joel Dempsey, all of them kind of went. They all started doing volunteering, and it's very similar. I think it's 3 or 4 Monday night meetings still Monday night. Yeah. And afterwards you get assigned your gear and you can start training. Now the run call thing is a little different, but it's different times. So what year was that?
I started May 1st, 1984.
84. Now, was it pretty like, for you, was it instantly like you was hooked, or is just like?
Yeah, I mean, I had some, David Morrissey, he was a fire marshal. He was there. Billy Lloyd was up there. And it was just a good bunch of guys. I didn't have any family that did it. But it was just good, and I kind of started liking it. We trained a lot more then. We had like an association, so once a month all the departments would get together and train out here at the academy. And it was the adrenaline side of it, and I liked it because, I mean, I guess coming from sports too. And so I just fell in love.
Now, after you graduate from high school, what's your post high school?
So my original plan was, I grew up in a military family. So my original plan was, I wanted to do the military side. I wanted to go be the baddest of the bad military special forces ranger, jump out of planes, all that stuff, right? So I went to college, Elon College, on a ROTC scholarship.
Did you?
So I was on ROTC scholarship, but I was still going home on the weekends, volunteering. I still stayed, but I was going to college, and it was okay. I wasn't putting as much time into college as I should have, you might say.
Yeah.
But I'd come home during the summer. My first year, I went ahead and actually joined the National Guard because they were paying me. They were giving me some money to 1 weekend a month, and then I was getting some spending money.
Oh, yeah.
So I joined the National Guard, and and my first year, I went off to boot camp that summer, came back, still every spare minute I was home volunteering, though. And then my next year, my sophomore year, I went through school, and my roommate was Todd Wright, who ended up, he got on Bethesda. We knew
wasn't he a chief somewhere?
He was a chief at Mooresville, and we volunteered still, even though we were in college, we still volunteered. And after my sophomore year, that summer, I just got back from my 2 weeks of summer camp, and I was in a wreck. I actually responded to a fire call, and I broke my back.
Oh, man.
So I was in pretty bad shape. So I broke my back. I had to go out to Duke. I was at Duke for 31 days recovering, healing. I was in a body, but it took me about a year. And so I lost my scholarship, couldn't go back. I was getting out of the military because, but the fire thing, I was like, I stayed volunteer, hung around the fire station. And I was like, well, if I can't do the military, why don't I look to do the fire department? So At the time, the girl I was dating was at UNCG, and she told me, she said, "Hey, you know, they're hiring up here full time." I was like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah." So I started working and getting back in shape and getting back strong again. Strength. Went up there, applied, went through their agility testing, and I'd gone through Durham's agility testing too. This was in '87, and Durham wasn't sure how many they were going to hire. Well,
Yeah.
Greensboro offered me a job, and I needed to go to work at this point.
Need
I
some
wasn't
money.
in college,
Yeah.
needed money, so I said. Plus, my girlfriend was up there. I'm like, I'm heading up there, so that's what took me to Greensboro.
Now, I just want to pause real quick because you mentioned something, and I just want to go back to it real quick. So, you say you were responding to a call.
Yep.
Do you remember what type of call it was?
It was a woods fire.
It was a woods fire.
Ended up being a controlled burn.
And so, you were driving.
Did not have my seatbelt on.
Have you speeded? Were you speeding?
Don't all firefighters speed?
So, it's not funny that you got an accident. I was just trying to figure out the cause and the circumstance to the wreck.
So we were responding to this woods fire. I just dropped a girl off. I'd gone out on a date, just dropped a girl off. And
Hold on,
I was
pause
responding.
real quick.
Yeah.
Is this the same girl from UNCG?
No.
Okay.
Different girl. And so
Player.
yeah. So I dropped her off, and I was responding. I was going up to the state, and I said, I'll because it was like midnight. So I was responding to the station. Went around the curve a little too fast. Kind of lost it. I was in my mom and dad's car, and it hit I ran off the road, and I hit the storm culverts going underneath your driveway.
Yeah.
And it shot me across the road, and I flipped it, and it rolled several times. And somewhere in all that, I was ejected and got thrown out. And when I came to, I was laying out there. It was pitch dark in the middle of this field, and hurting, and like, man,
I can imagine.
My first thought was my dad's gonna kill me because I knew the car was destroyed probably.
Yeah.
But and then I heard sirens, and the department actually that I volunteered with ended up coming to me.
So, which department was that?
Bethesda.
Okay,
Yeah,
I just want to make sure. Okay.
It was on Sharon Road.
So it's interesting that you say that because I know for a while, and I don't know the statistics now, but car accidents were one of the leading cause of line of duty deaths. Not car accidents, but accidents responding to calls were one of the up there as far as leading deaths as far as firefighters. A lot of people don't know that, so that's why I want to go back because you
wear
were
your
fortunate.
wear your seatbelts, and hey, slow down. That day could have changed not only my family, it did change it, but
Could have been a different outcome.
could have been a different outcome.
For a controlled burn, which at the time
for
you
nothing.
don't know. For nothing.
And it was, I'll tell you where it was at. It was the TWI's extension coming from Miami Boulevard that extends down to 70.
Yeah.
They were cutting that in then. That wasn't there, and they were cutting that in, and they would cleared brush and piled it up. It was a big old brush pile burning. Somebody called it in. It was a woods fire.
Well, I'm glad you made it out of that, and you said it took a while for you to heal up, and then you wanted to apply to Durham. They didn't know how many people to hire, but you got offered a job in '87.
87.
With Greensboro.
I started Greensboro's Academy April 1st, 1987. Graduated July 16th.
Okay. Now, how was that experience? Like, how was Greensboro? You're away from home. I mean, you have a friend up there, right? But how was that experience just with Greensboro and just
didn't know a single person. Walked in, and if you ever talk with any of the guys from Greensboro, they call me Rambo, and the reason why they did is at the time after I tore up this car that I was driving, I had to get another car, and so I got an Army Jeep, and so I drove the first day. I had on BDU pants, a T-shirt, and drove up in an Army Jeep, and it was like, oh man, they got Rambo in our academy, and so the name kind of stuck.
You look like Rambo when you said
how it so your name sticks. But I made those guys that I went through this academy with, I still keep in touch with today. Great guys. We were a tight knit group, and so I made new friends and lifelong friends this day.
As typically as it happens in the academy, you just go through that experience and you bond. But how many people were in the academy?
It was 26.
26.
Lost one in a motorcycle accident, got killed.
Oh man.
Yeah.
My first academy was 26, but we didn't have no Rambo per se. You do like when you said you had a military background in your family, it looks like you had to hide tight. The picture you were showing me when you were in Greensboro, that makes a lot of sense. So, you go to the academy. Where do you get? What's your first assignment?
First assignment was Engine 1 right there at the academy, and typically we had Engine 1 and Engine 2 at that station up there then, and just typical same stuff that we do here. I had to make the Chiefs bed in the morning and had to get the paper in every day. And
you made the Chiefs bed?
Yeah,
we did that here too.
Well, you still had to like make sure, make the coffee, make this, you still have all make sure this is in, the paper's in. So it's still a lot of little traditions like that as a rookie that I had to do. But yeah, one of my assignments as a rookie is I had to make the Chiefs bed. And so one of the pranks they did is I went in and made the Chiefs bed that morning, and I wanted to impress him. So I had the corners tightened off. Well, then, we were doing stuff with some of the guys went in behind me and short sheeted his bed. And so when he came in that evening and he went to go get in his bed, it was short sheeted. So, of course, he came out there, and was raising Cain like, Young, what are you doing? I need to talk to you. And I'm like, what's going on? And come to find out these guys are short sheeted his bed, making it think I was messing with the Chief, So, but it was just, practical stuff like that. Good joke.
Well, we talk about a lot of things. Like, we don't really get into the rookie aspect of it. So I guess we can go into it now. Like, what are some things as a rookie? I mean, we talked about, hey, you're going to be expected to, do the little tasks, right? Like wash dishes, clean toilets, do that things, right? But what are some things mentally as a rookie that you go through, and just like what are some pranks that have been played on you as a rookie?
Well, when I of course, I kind of started over again when I came here. They got into my locker and they sewed all of my short sleeves and pant sleeves. They sewed them all together. So when you go to put a shirt on, my sleeve was sewn together.
So you couldn't get your arm
through. So I couldn't get my arm through any of it, my pants,
man, these guys
things
are
like
tactical.
that. Of course, the water, if you're at Station 1, you're gonna get hit with water. That was a guarantee.
Oh, yeah, they told us off the rip. They said, bring extra clothes. Make sure you bring extra clothes.
And so one night, I was one of the last ones to go to bed, and everybody was, Station 1, I talked about it was open bay, and they had taken my bed and set it on cans, aluminum cans. And of course, you don't go in there and flip the light on because everybody's either sleeping or whatever. So
y'all had bunks at the time?
No, we had just regular single beds. They were stacked all beside each other.
Well, it was like a bunk
room. That's right, open bunk room.
Right.
And they had put my bed on cans. Well, I didn't know this because it was dark, and I'm not going to turn the light on because people are in there sleeping.
Yeah, don't want to take anybody out.
And man, I sat down on the bed, and those cans crushed and shot out. And when it's quiet, you can imagine the noise, as it goes across. Yeah. And so little things like that. But one prank that it wasn't me, we played on Chief Jurgen at Station 1. We got him good.
Right, yeah.
So of course back then, middle of the day, it was you made your bed in the morning, but it wasn't no getting in it. So we had taken a mannequin and put in the bed and covered it up where all you could see was the back of the head or whatever. And Chief Jurgen was pretty,
Yeah.
He came walking through there and saw who he thought was a person in the bed. I need to see the captains in my office. I need to see the captains. And they went in there and they said, he's, whoever's in the bed, I want him in my office. Get him out, whatever. And they was like, he won't. They went out. He's not coming in anymore. I'll go in there. And he went in there. He said, get out of his bed. And he ripped the covers back, and sure enough, it was a mannequin laying there. And he just turns. Of course, everybody's laughing,
Yeah.
But
that's
good times, man.
Good times. So I had a couple pranks, but like the one that I remember the most is I was at Station 2, and in my bedroom every night there would be water leaking on me. And I was like, man, there's a water leak in the ceiling, man. Like, I'm just like, why is I'm telling the guy, I'm like, there's water leak. Nah, man.
Drip test.
I was like, well, it rained last night. Maybe it won't happen tonight. And then the same thing, water leaking. And so one day, I just somebody gave me a tip that was like, man, just check the ceiling, man. Check the ceiling. So I looked up, and sure enough, there's like a little hole, like, and if you ever seen like what is this considered? Drop down ceilings, right?
Yeah, drop
like
down.
They have little holes in the tile. So sure enough, I seen one that looked a little bit odd, and I was like, man, I wonder what's going on. So I lift the tile up, and there was a IV bag line and an IV in the next room. I'm not gonna say who room it was, but this particular person, he would take the IV bag and he would squeeze it, and it would drip on me throughout the night. And that's where it was coming from. So I called myself being smart, and I tied the bag up, and I would just continue to play along. I was like, oh man, I was getting soaked, but I knew at some point he had to know because he was
the biggest prankster here. Brian Eaton.
Oh, Brian.
Chief Eaton.
Oh, he was my captain for a long time.
Chief Eaton, biggest prankster here. He was one that would take time to rig up all kinds of.
Yeah. Well, let's see. That was Dan Burton. Dan Burton's the one. Dan Burton. So it was Dan Burton at Station 2. Cap Eaton at the time came over later, but so you know what Bust A is, right?
Oh yeah.
All right, so it's a board game. If anybody don't know what Bust, I can't
Bust
say what a
Butt.
Bust Butt is, right? Like it's a board game. It's basically like an adult version of Trouble, but it gets very intense. Like I'm talking about boards get thrown across.
I had a guy text me last night.
Really?
And tell me they were playing at Station 7.
Yeah.
And I play. I was one of them. You get intense, right?
It's very strategic.
But he texted me last night and said you would be losing your mind right now. And Jason Pereira, they were playing. Yeah. And just from days when we played, he said you'd be losing your mind right now. He texted me last night, matter of fact.
Yeah, it's all like it's really serious. And I didn't know, like, as a young person getting into it, you try to learn the game. And then, like, there's a strategy. You got to have someone on offense. Yeah, you got to have someone on defense. You can't run double offense. Yeah. And it would be very intense until, particularly at Station 2 with Bust Bud, Chief Eaton, he would, like, he got moved. He went to Station 1. That's what happened. Well, we had the board. And he liked this particular board. So what they would do, they would come over and steal it. And then what we would do was go over to Station 1 and steal it back. And so this went on for a long time. He would put that mother scruncher, like, we started getting meticulous with it. So we started putting it in the maze of Station 2, like places you would never find it.
Never think about it, right?
But it would always end up missing. We went and put it in the attic of Station 2, buried it under a bunch of the little insulation up there. And it was gone. It was like, bro, what is going on? Come to find out, this dude put a tracker on the board. Chief Eaton put a tracker on the board. And then he hid it somewhere where we couldn't find it. Like, we would go up there because I think he got promoted to battalion chief. So we go to the battalion chief office. We're searching everywhere, man. I'm starting to think about taking this Class A as ransom. And we're like, yo, like, we got. And he's sending, like, little photos and pictures like, oh, we have your board hostage. And I'm like, man. And it was very serious because that was our board, and that's the only one we had. But, yeah, man, it got serious. Station 1, same thing, the same board. Same board still at Station 1. Me and Captain Triple were teammates. And I would just like to say, me and Captain Triplett were champions at Bust Butt. We would beat Cage Samuel and and Houston Putman. Our record against them was like 30 and maybe 5. And the 5 came at the end. But it got so serious. We had championship rings. I ordered some championship rings off of eBay.
Oh, they had belts.
We had belts. Yeah, man. I got a picture, man. It got serious out there. But yeah, that's a firehouse tradition.
That is a firehouse game for sure here.
I love that game. All right, so kind of got off track, but how long were you at Greensboro for?
3.5 years.
3 years. And then what?
So my dad started having a few minor health problems, nothing too serious. And the girl that I was dating had graduated and came back to Durham.
Okay.
And, of course, I still volunteer because I was coming home, a lot of my days in between. And I just came one day and just said, hey, are you guys taking any type of laterals or anything? Because I didn't really want to go back through an academy. I'd gone through Greensboro. Greensboro was a pretty tough academy. Mm-hmm. And I'd gone through that, and they said, matter of fact, we're taking laterals. And so I applied, went through the testing, got through everything. They offered me a job. This was in 91. And so I said my goodbyes up there and I came back into Durham.
So you came out. What's some of the biggest lessons you got from Greensboro? Are there any?
No, I mean I was still young. I was still young here because I got on so early, but it's a lot different. So I literally went in and sat in with Chief Taylor, and he said, "Hey, welcome aboard. Look, you need to go get you some gear, but tomorrow you need to report to Station 8." That was my that's like go to Station 8. There was no going out to the academy. 3 weeks of orientation.
Yeah.
It was, and that next day I got my stuff, and actually Station 1 was where we had our gear. Was where you got your gear and your clothes.
That's like supply.
Supply up
Okay.
there. They called it the cave back then, but it was, and I reported Station 8, and that was my first day on the job. And my second day on the job, again, riding tailboard, walked in there. I remember walked in, introduced myself, and they, we all shook hands, and they said, all right. They said, the first thing they asked me was, hey, come in here, I'll show you some stuff. It was, hey, what do you want for breakfast? I said, it don't matter. They said, okay, we're going to eat breakfast. And so, of course, then you could smoke in the station. So you got David Johnson over there smoking. He's cooking up breakfast. Captain Lemons was doing something.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, he said, just go out there and take a look at the truck. You're going to be riding on the back. I said, okay. And that's how. And then my second day there, so my first day, Kenny Ray was there. But my second day, they had roved him. I was there by myself.
Okay.
So we get a woods fire call on Carr Street. This was the first. I don't remember running a call my first day. My second day, we get a woods fire call on Carr Street, which is over off Highway 70. And I jump on the truck. I'm the only one. I'm hanging on the back. Had a little button up here. You'd hit that button to tell the driver he's ready to go. So we get there, and I'm standing on the back of the truck. Well, we pull up, and it's a field on fire, and out in the middle of this field is a single wide trailer, and it is rocking. So I'm just standing on the back of the truck, and I remember Captain Lemons comes around there. He's got his helmet on. That's all he had. And he had his radio stuffed in his pocket, and the mic's dragging the ground. And I'm just standing on the back of the truck. I'm like, I'm not getting off to. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, little buddy, how about pulling me the booster line? Let's see if we can put some of this fire out. I said, yes, sir, Captain. So I pulled the booster line. Of course, he had called for help, and that's the first time I met Sean Boone. He was on. I think he was riding engine 3 that day. He had asked for an upgrade, because of structure, and pulled up, and that's the first time I met Sean. He introduced himself, and I said, I'm David. I just got here.
This guy here from Greensboro. So Station 8 at the time is now
Holloway
Street. Is what Station 4, EMS Station 4 is.
That's right.
For those that don't know, geographically, it's right there. What's that housing development right there? Turnkey.
Yeah.
Turnkey, yeah.
Right up the road from Turnkey.
Right up the road from Turnkey. So that's where Station 8 at for those who just looking for a geographical location. Now, you meet Captain Boone, your first day, they throw you to the wolves. They don't even, they're just like, yo, you good to go.
They say it's thrown to the wolves, but when you're that young, you don't know any different. You're like, I'm just going to do what he tells me to do, kind of thing. Which is still kind of like that today. They give you a little more, I think it's a little more structured now. But, still, he just said, hey, just hang with me. And
well, our laterals, for those who want to lateral, our laterals, they go through what is a 2-month academy, 8 weeks.
Yeah, just
8 weeks. So just
kind of orientating yourself.
Yes, because every place operates differently. So we just want to make sure that you operate the way we need you to operate.
That's right.
And so they go through that. So it is a little more. It is a little more structured than
Which is
you,
good. It's a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Always room to grow.
That's right.
Who was your first captains in whatever driver?
David Johnson's driver, Tommy Lemons was my captain, but I'll tell you this. So I watched Rev's podcast,
right? And
he's absolutely correct. The golden egg in Durham Fire Department was the rescue truck. That's what if you wanted to see action, that because it went to every structure fire,
right?
So that was what you. But at the time, it was hazmat. You had to have your hazmat. I'd already had my EMT because I'd got it earlier, but I didn't have my hazmat. So a hazmat school was coming up like 2 weeks after I got online, started working, and I put in to go to it. Well, they was like, no, this guy's just got here. We're not gonna let him, in school this quick. And so my captain fought for me and said, man, this guy, he's a go-getter, and so I got in that school. That was hazmat school because you had to have a hazmat to get on that truck. And my goal was to be able to get to that truck and ride it. That was what I wanted to do because it was the action truck at the time, so.
It's still the same way today, man. Like, it's the truck that goes to all the good calls. Like, if you want to go to every structure fire in the city of Durham, the rescue one is the truck that's gonna go to every fire. Some would argue, Engine One, they play with the polygon, so they go to all the fires. Nah, Rescue One is to me, and to Reb's point, Reb was saying, the rescue truck of yesteryear ain't the rescue truck today. And he was just talking more of like, a bunch of studs on there as far as like you had to look a certain way or have a certain mentality. Mentality is what he was saying.
One thing you had to have is you had to have your EMT because originally that truck, when it was here, I guess even before Puck said, and Sean can probably fill you in exact, but those guys were back up to EMS, so you had to be an EMT to be. Mm-hmm. Well, at the time, there was only a handful of EMTs, on the department because that was before EMS.
Yeah.
So that was a catch-all. You had to get your EMT. Well, a lot of people didn't want to go through medical training and stuff like that to be able to go. But that truck backed up Durham County EMS. So that's why they made you be an EMT.
So hold on. At this point, was the department running EMS?
Mm-mm.
No,
we weren't running EMS.
Okay. Was Greensboro running EMS?
Greensboro, we did run EMS. Yeah, we were running it, and that's where I got my EMT.
Okay. So, but the rescue truck was the backup to EMS. So you had to be EMT on top of being hazmat.
Hazmat, yeah.
And I'm imagining you had to be rescue. You had to have rescue.
Well, so rescue hazmat. So you got a picture in the '80s.
Okay.
The '80s was hazmat. If you go back and look at some of the kind of the history of the fire service, hazmat was was the big thing in the '80s. It was all about hazmat. A lot of your classes and stuff, they were dealing with hazmat stuff. So rescue hadn't really. We did extrication and stuff, but full-blown technical rescue really hadn't come into the forefront, at least here for Durham. And Don Hannon was the one that pushed that, Chief Hannon, and he got that going with the TRT team.
The TRT. Now, you say you were on Station 8, and you say you wanted to get the rescue. Did you get to the rescue?
I did. I never. I was assigned to it a lot. So at the time there was a lot of promotions and openings going on in acting spots, and I got up to Station 1, and that was kind of your niche to get up to Station 1. So I got up to Station 1, and I would fill in over on it quite a bit. The crew I was with was George Odell, Captain Ralston, and Juan DeShazer. They were the three on it.
Yeah.
So I would get and Chief Jurgen. Yep. So I would fill in with them a lot, and when one of them was off, I would ride it. And then old three was a hazmat station. So Sean was filling in down there. Well, a lot of when they would have people off, of course you had to have hazmat training. So Sean and I continuously were, if an opening came up, a 6-month acting, we were acting, and we were constantly going from three to rescue all the time. So that's I never did actually get like assigned to it as like a captain or anything like that, but I rode it quite a bit just from being able to fill in.
Just because we use some terms here, as far as hazmat, for those that don't know, hazmat stands for hazardous materials. Those are the people that mitigate your chemical spills, gas leaks, all that stuff like that. Right. And so, so you fill in with the rescue a bunch, and you're going back and forth with hazmat. And you were talking about earlier. You were talking about being at Station 3 and Elvis, not Elvis.
Yeah,
Elvis.
Shishi was
yeah. Shishi. Talk about Elvis a lot, and then you talk about Shishi, who was at Station 3, right?
So Shishi was the mascot. She was there whenever I got there too, but just the. And I don't even know. Buddy Christian, Chief Christian, can tell you exactly how she came to be there. Mm-hmm. but she was just the station mascot. She had her own bed. She'd come and go, and she was the of course, everybody in the neighborhood knew where she
That's
was.
awesome,
So, but then after that accident happened and she got killed, we got Elvis, and he was a little more high strung than she. She was like she was laid back. She was.
What was she? She's a pug.
She
or
was
something?
she was a mutt.
A mutt.
Yeah.
But Elvis was a Dalmatian.
Elvis was a Dalmatian.
Dalmatian through and through. Let's look. Well, the reason why I was bringing up the dogs is because here in the fire department currently we have 2 dogs currently, but ours are more like therapy dogs. They're there for. But back in the day, you guys just from what I gathered, it was like neighborhood dogs that you guys kind of just took in and kind of fostered. Except for Elvis, I would imagine.
Elvis was Chief McDonald had Elvis, and he was just a little too much. So we were kind of missing it because with Shi's thing, and so that's how we got Elvis at the station. But then I think he ended up going. At the time Lebanon had Angel. Mm-hmm. They had that Dalmatian, and she would actually ride on the truck with him right up there on the box. So there was several stations. Even Station 1 back a long time ago, years ago, they had a dog named Smokey. And back then, when we first got on, we didn't have helmet shields, and people would doctor up their helmets. And I had a helmet, and I got Todd Elliott, I think, drew it for me, but he put Smokey. We had a picture of him, and he drew him on the front of my helmet when I was at Station 1.
Fire department lids used to be notorious. Just how people used to draw on their helmets. That's one thing I do miss about the helmets. I understand why we don't do it now, but because I know some people had ECU.
Yeah, you kind of made it. You kind of made it your own. I always kept my family. I had especially when I started having kids, but I always kept my family and updated pictures. I'd get my wife to kind of make a little collage of pictures, and I always kept those in my helmets. Just kind of one of those things that I always wanted them to be with me, kind of thing.
I think I actually learned that from you in the Durham Tech Academy, because I think you talked about that. And so when I first got, I got a picture of when I first got a family. I put the picture of my family inside my helmet, because I don't know if it was you. I don't know if it was you or someone else was telling us a story, and just they were talking about if I was to go down in the fire, I could pull the helmet off and I have one final look at my family, and just you
kind of always know. It was just something about it. You just, if it was a bad fire, no matter what, on the way back to the station or what, they were always there. If you just needed something to look at to kind of motivate you to get, because there's some long, Tim, there's some long nights, sleepless nights, long next days. Your body just gets beat up. Mentally, physically, you get beat up at this job. So it's just kind of something that I always kept close to me. I wanted to be able to see him. If you couldn't talk to him at the time, there's something there. So.
Yeah, man. That's one thing you're right. That's one thing I just kept with my helmet. And like I said, back then, we had all types of shields, tin shields, leather shields. You had helmets painted squirrel. Squirrel had the whole squirrel little mural on his joint. It was had a hose with the house on fire. It was awesome. So you go to 8. At what point first of all, any memorable fires, just in your firefighter, as a firefighter, before you promote the driver? What are some things that you remember?
So we had a fire on Andrew Avenue. I was on Engine 8, hadn't been there long, and had a fire on Engine 8 just right down from between Driver and Clay.
Okay.
Big old house, burning pretty good. And Engine 4 and Engine 3 and Ladder 1 and Rescue were the initial response. They had called, Chief Jurgen was the chief. They had called for a second alarm. And Engine 4, what had happened, Engine 4 had caught the hydrant at Clay Street, laid into Engine 3, and the hydrant was dead. This house had caught the big house beside it on fire too. So now you've got 2 houses going, huge houses, old wood houses, it was so bad that across the street, the houses were across the street had old asphalt shingles, telephone poles on fire, shingles are melted. Engine 3 is in between this, out of water.
So did any heat damage?
Engine 3's the lights are melting. It's the paint's coming off the side of the truck.
Oh,
Billy
man.
Lloyd took Engine 4's booster line and is spraying Engine 3. There is no water going on these fires at the time. Chief Jurgen, we pull up on Engine 8, and when we go down there to him, and Chief Jurgen, they face to face, Captain Lemons, and he says, "Man, we just got to get some water." So we all picked up this 5-inch hose, disconnected it from the hydrant, carried it all the way up the street to Driver Street, tapped into a hydrant there, and then we started, able to get some water.
Now, did the initial crew try to make?
Yeah, they tried to make a tiger. I mean, the thing is, we ran out of water, and ultimately, what killed us was that hydrant being broken. I mean, it was dead, but with Engine 3 running out of water, the Engine 4 had water, but they were using 4 to try to keep Engine 3 from burning. Engine 3 was going to literally sit there and burn up.
I don't think people understand how radiant the heat is from a fire.
Yeah, this was like I said, across the street. The telephone poles on fire. The houses across the street are melting. Shingles and stuff are melting. It was pretty intense.
I imagine if it's melting the lights on Engine 3. Like, I've been to fires, just training burns, right? And you just feel the heat from the house during burnout stage. You're like, man, you trying to cover up and pulling your shield down or whatever you got just to kind of protect yourself. I don't. If you've never been close to a big fire, just sit by next to a campfire and just imagine that times 1,000, and that's what it feels like. So you had Engine 8, but you also had some. So Engine 8 was a memorable call, right? And then you have the notorious call. Were you a firefighter then, or were you?
No, I was on Engine 3. Act at that point, so I went from Engine 8. I went up to Station 1, and then that's when I kind of started doing the rescue in Engine 3 back and forth, and so I stayed, either on the rescue Engine 1 or Engine 3 right there for a pretty good while. And then that call, I happened to be that day I was on Engine 3, and that call was on the corner, right on the corner of Riddle Road and South Austin Avenue.
Let's paint this picture. All right, so the call that we're referencing is it was a shed, right?
It was a place where the guy took old antiques and old furniture and stripped off the old paints and stuff like that and redid them, and it was just like a warehouse where they stripped furniture and stuff like that.
Okay, so it's a warehouse, a storage building, right?
Yeah.
Storage building, right? So you guys get the call. Is it? I don't know. How's it reported then? Like,
It's
is it
reported structure fire.
reported structure fire? And you guys are going. Can you guys got a header going en route or?
Yeah. So Engine 4 gets there, gives a size up, and they stretch a line. Our assignment was to catch a hydrant and lay into Engine 4. So I caught the hydrant, and we laid into Engine 4. Engine 4 was in there. They'd pulled a line. Their crew had gone in and had knocked it down, made a pretty quick hit, and knocked it down. And we tied in the truck. Engine 4 got their water to them. Chief asked us to pull a second line off of Engine 4. So we pulled a second line, and I walked up to Captain Freeman, who had his back to me. We were right there at the door, and it was still smoking, and everything coming out. And Chief Roberts had gone at Scott at the time. He was a firefighter with me on the back. He had taken the line and gone in and had started going on in. And I was just sitting there asking Cap Freeman what he needed from me. And it was just that quick, man. It was a huge explosion. I mean, just a huge explosion. And fire rolled out that door. And it was so late into the fire that the news channel team had got set up and was videotaping back there.
Okay, so that's where the shot comes from news.
Yeah,
I know in the academy that's one of the things they show.
So
all the time.
that it was actually news footage that caught that explosion and caught us in that explosion, but that's how. So we thought the fire was out. That's the whole thing. Is it was just we were kind of like in the mop up.
Yeah, they made a knockdown. Already made a knock, right? And then it's like smoldering. So
and I'm not exactly 100%. It had something to do with a 55-gallon drum of solvent that was highly flammable, or a vat or something. But somehow a release of a lot of vapors at one time happened, and it was still some smoldering fire in the corner. Now, when it happened, after we got our senses together, I thought for sure them guys that were, because there was still guys inside.
Right.
And I said, man, these guys just got toast, But what had happened is they had already gone to the front of the building. I mean, they were making sure no fire had progressed to the front of the building. It was just right there at that door. So I didn't know this at the time, but when the explosion happened, I was like, once we got together, I was like, oh man, these guys are, are hurt. And ended up, everything happened. Captain Freeman, of course, got the blunt of it, and he was right there at the door.
yeah,
And didn't have his gloves on, and was going to be putting my. But we hadn't really gone in yet either. We were kind of right there at the door.
yeah.
I had everything on. I had my mask. I was getting ready to start suiting up, and I saw it, the explosion, and then was able to turn away.
Man, I know from the video, it was like pure chaos when everybody's like running out the building with the fire.
Well, we thought everybody was trapped. I mean, they'd started cutting. John Renner and Towton had started cutting holes in the side of the building because we thought, again, that those guys that were still in there were trapped, and they were in that. But they had actually gone up into the front of the building. Eventually, once it got knocked back down and all, they all came out like, what just happened?
What's the big deal? Is that like the closest call you have? Like I had a building flash on me like that. It was actually at a funeral home. I want to say down on Driver Street.
Yeah.
And it was we were fighting fire, made a push. We were searching the head of the line. We knew the line was coming right behind us because we asked the guys, "Hey, you guys ready?" So we go in a little bit before them, and like it's clear as day, man. Like it looked like a normal, like a train and burn. When I say train and burn, I mean the fire's like in one corner and it's rolling on the ceiling, and you just have this fire. But it went from that to all of a sudden the whole room being on fire, and I'm getting ran over by my partner on the truck at that time, Trip Hammond, trying to get out. I mean, rightfully so. Like we're in a fireball at this point, and destroyed our mask, and got a couple burns on the ear. That
was a close call. That one was pretty bad. Luckily, I didn't get injured. Captain Freeman was out for 6 or 7 months. Had to get surgery. He actually had to get skin grafts on his hands. But I didn't get injured. I fell through a fire on Guest Road. Fell through the floor. Todd Ellett helped me out of that one. But again, didn't. I was lucky. I never really sustained like any bad. I mean, you get ears blistered and stuff like that. There was we had a fire. One of the probably the fire though in my career of all the fires, the number one fire that I honestly think I could be bedridden in a home with the worst case dementia you could ever have, and I'll never forget this fire as long as I live. But I was on Engine 5 with Captain Reardon, Bruce Lynch, and Carroll and Milligan, and we were we had just gone to Lakewood Shopping Center, to the YMCA that's over there, to do like the little kids come out and look at the truck and the smoke trailer and that kind of stuff. And we got called to 1022 Pike Street, which is right behind Lakewood Shopping Center, for a structure fire. And of course, I mean, literally, we're right across the street from Lakewood Shopping Center, so we got there within about a minute. And we pull up, and there's a lady standing out in the front yard. It's an L-shaped apartment. It's a one-story apartment. And there's a lady out in the front yard, just like in Hollywood, screaming, "My baby, my baby, my baby's in there, my baby's in there." Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there looking at it was fire blowing out the front door and the side window, and I'm like, oh man. So we just got the line off the truck, went right up there to it. I got the door the rest of the way open. Bruce charged it, and I just went in, man, wide open, just getting it, and knocked the fire down actually pretty quick. It was, I mean, you get plenty of water going. It goes up pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I shut the line down and went down the hall, went to the first room. The door was closed, opened up, and it was pretty clear. And my first thought was, man, if she's made it to one of these rooms, this part of the house is clear. These rooms are clear because the bedroom doors have been shut. Mm-hmm. And I was frantically searching. And the rescue truck got there, and I remember them saying, "Hey, we got her up here. And, that was, but again, we didn't have, the next morning in the paper, it was a picture of her, the person. And man, I sat there, and what made it so bad at reading the article, I didn't know this till after the article, but this particular incident, they were getting a surprise birthday party. And this was her aunt's place. And they were getting a surprise birthday party, so all the kids were waiting at her house for have this surprise birthday party.
Dang, man.
It was her birthday that day. And I'll tell you this, Tim. So the paper came out the next day, or day or so, and I saw a picture, and I could not go to sleep without seeing that picture for months.
Wow.
Every time I lay down at night, I'd see that picture for months and months and months. And it's always stuck with me. But I know there was nothing we could have done different. I mean, I'm not saying we did anything wrong. But Russell Hayes was there. I remember he got there. I think it was like one of his first fires. It was a very bad day, that day that we all had to deal with that.
Now
I'll always remember that. Just her out in the yard screaming. It's like if you textbook a Hollywood movie.
Yeah,
that's what it would have been.
Hey man, was Captain Burton there?
Who?
Captain Burton.
This was Russell Hayes had just graduated. He hadn't been long out of the academy.
Okay. Captain Burton had some similar story. Like it was somebody's birthday party, kind of similar to that. Yeah. So I didn't know if that was the same story, man. So you talk about seeing faces of people. That's one thing I struggle with. My first work period. Really, like first body I've ever saw. Like I would close my eyes, and I would see that face, and every time I close my eyes, I would just see that face. And after that, like I got used to it, and I can now. But that used to keep me up, and I couldn't go to sleep. But then it got to it where I was seeing it so frequently because on this job, you're going to be exposed to trauma and death.
They never call you on this job to say, "Hey, I've baked some chocolate chip cookies for you. I'd just like for you to come get it." Every time we get called, it's because somebody's having a bad day, right? Yeah. We don't. Every day you go to work, you're going to be dealing with somebody's bad day, right?
Right.
And so that's when I say mentally this job will beat you up. You cope with it. You learn coping mechanisms. You learn to talk with your friends and share things. And sometimes it's tough to talk to people that aren't in our line of work or do what we do because they don't understand it. But you deal with it. You figure out your own coping mechanisms and you deal with it. But this job will beat you up mentally and physically. That's why I've heard Carl talk about it, even Rev, I think, talk about it some. You got to be fully focused on your job every day you go into work because you just never know what that day is going to hold. And I think that's some of the excitement of it too. You're not sitting in front of an office computer every day doing the same thing, checking the same report. You never know what that day's going to hold from the time you put your stuff on the truck till you take it off the truck. You never know. And it's just and over a 30-year career, it takes its toll on you.
That's what's great about the job is just every day's different. And that's what made me because I knew going into it I didn't want to do the same thing every day, right? But like you said, outside of just physically, mentally, this will beat you up. And you have to know how to cope with it. And we have our ways of coping with it on the truck. But
water dripping on your head.
The water, yeah.
Xbox
We got
at the station, bus butt.
We tend to laugh through the pain and the trauma. But unfortunately, in this career, not just our career, but any career where you're exposed to trauma, you tend to it affects you longer than you expected. Oh, yeah. Or post career, you're sitting with a lot of trauma, and some people don't know how to process it. With our department, they make it available where you have counseling. We had people you could talk to, but
and that's some of the changes, like because back early on it was kind of either you take it but now there is where you can talk to people. You have counseling, and it's okay. You're like, man, am I the only one that's kind of feeling this way about this call? And you come to find out, no, we're all feeling this way, but it's okay to have those feelings, because you're kind of like, am I cut out for this? So
ego can sometimes get in the way.
Yeah,
of you, like not wanting to feel embarrassed about it, but it is something that you need to check because it is something that a lot of responders, just first responders, or people who serve, deal with, and it's unfortunately the rates can be higher for these communities. So
that's right.
A lot of PTSD that people try to deal with. Give me some of the biggest lessons you learned in your career, like just biggest lessons you learned about.
Well, so one of the things you'll learn in the fire department is discipline, right? And like so me and my wife, love her to death. Shout out to my wife, Heather.
Shout out to Miss Heather.
Now one thing is you got to understand too is in this line of work, your family, you're a single parent. If moms and dads have kids and your loved ones in the fire service, a lot of the time you're a single parent and you do miss a lot in this job. But so the discipline side, the littlest things, and sometimes I would sit there and she would have to hit me. This isn't the fire station. She'd hit me with that a lot. This isn't the fire station. But like I would, I'd make a sandwich, and then I would take everything and I'd put it up, and I'd get everything ready, and then I'd sit down and eat. Well, man, she would make a sandwich or whatever and leave the mustard out and leave this out, and eventually she would put it up, but not me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, it's got, everything's got to be a certain way. The trucks, our trucks, everything is perfect in line, everything, and so I was always like, it's got to be just like, it's like, no, it don't. It's okay. You can have it like that in the fire department, but here, and so I think discipline is one. I'm just this discipline in this is essential in this line of work because of what we're asked to do. With the freelance, you don't want, it's just what you're facing. You want to make sure that you're disciplined enough to follow orders and follow through and that kind of stuff. But it's stuff I've learned. I mean, I tell you this, it's a great, when you finally get to your retirement, it supports me and my family every day. So you're not going to get rich.
You're not going to get rich.
It will be there for you at the end of 30.
So for me, the discipline aspect, you're talking about how your wife, food, you use the station, clean up after yourself. Because if you don't,
that's right.
It's like a cardinal sin. You don't clean up yourself, people going to talk junk. Or sometimes you might find, the pot on your bed, the dirty dish in your bed. So sometimes you might find it. So you learn that aspect. For me, with my home life, a lot of times for me it was like we get instilled in us like early, and it would grind my gears that my family took forever to be like. I was like, yo, we have to leave by this time.
Yeah, we gotta be
early. They're like, but it doesn't start by this time. I'm like, it don't matter. We need to be there early, and
we don't need to be the first ones there.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, we gotta be early. So that was something that we dealt with a lot. But something for me that I struggled with was like just we're in the fire service. We keep things housed in. So my wife would be like, "What happened today?" I'd be like, oh, nothing. Like, was it busy? Yeah. But she wanted to know more. Like, well, what happened? What type of calls you have? And for me, I'm like the type of person like I don't like explaining stuff. Like, because if I say, hey, we had a structure fire, we had a subject trap, we did search, whatever. She's gonna ask me a question. What did you search? Why did you search that way? Or why did you only you and Captain Maurer, or you and Captain Boone, or whoever? Why'd you only do that? And I just didn't feel like having to explain all of that. And then so that for she's very my wife is very thorough. It's gonna take her a million years to tell me. You know, I'm very
Matter of
point
fact.
A, point B.
Yeah.
And she's very A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like she's gonna give you a long synopsis, but she's a writer, so that she's very thorough in that aspect. So for me, that was a struggle. And then also just she would say in that case, in that sense, she's like, yo, the job has made you emotionless. Because I don't.
Oh yeah.
I don't.
Oh, you get hit with that emotionless. Yeah, exactly. You get hit with that a lot.
Yeah,
So,
like,
but I will tell you. So I was at Station 2 on Ladder 2 for years. Loved it up there. That was a good 4 or 5 years of my career. And my kids were the same age as a lot of other guys' kids, wives. So we did a lot of Sunday dinners, a lot of birthdays, a lot of our families. It was a lot of families. So my wife got to interact with other wives, and she, and I think they needed that too. They needed to say, why is he the way he is, and well, he's the same way, that, and it helps them understand that it's not just me. It's not you. It's not. It's just. It's just what this job kind of does to you. So she's learned that. But I got to say, if you're having a difficult home life, this job can be super tough. I was fortunate. I had a great wife. Again, not. I mean, she was one. She raised my kids because I was working multiple jobs, just like you've done.
Yeah.
And you miss a lot, but she was there, and then she would bring them to the station, so we could hang out at the station, and I did some birthdays at the station with them and stuff. But you do miss a lot in this job, but it's the sacrifices that you have to make for this career. You know, it's no way to get around it.
I think eventually my wife actually got used to me, like though she appreciated, because in situations where my kid might be hurt or whatever, like she's freaking out, and I'm just like, relax, dude. Like this ain't nothing.
Yeah.
This ain't nothing.
Yeah.
You should have seen what I had yesterday.
Yeah.
This right here is a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Oh, but their arm is broken. It's cool. We got it. We
all
go give them a couple of aspirin. We're fine. We're good. So she does appreciate that I'm the yin to her yang, and as far as emotions, and I can stay calm and ready. So we talked about like what you learned from it. What's something like for young people trying to get into it? What's something that you would tell them, like just some advice?
Well, I think some of the biggest things is, be all in. If you want to do this, okay, this is not a part-time. It's not a halfway. I'm not sure I want to do it kind of thing. If you really want to do this and be good at it, you got to go have an all-in attitude. You got to want to train. You got to want to. You got to understand the sacrifices it's going to take. But it's so rewarding. I can't tell you. Anybody you talk to that's retired from it, made it through, I look back on my career and it was so rewarding. Just the people I met. I never went to work one day and said I hate this job.
Same.
Never
I've been
did
tired.
And it's just it was. I enjoyed going to work. I look forward to going to work. Now, yes, things change as you get older. And when it started, I'd call guys, hey, man, I heard you had a fire. Tell me about it. Things change as you do get older, but you're still into the job. And even to this day, I still volunteer. I still teach. I still love the job, but I also realize that I'm not 20, and it's physically it's a pretty demanding job, and I don't have I'm not ready to kick off, but it's still a physical job, and it beats you up.
How long you been retired, Gap?
3 years.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That is hard to believe. I don't know. It doesn't seem. I guess
March 1st of 2023 was March 28th of 2023 was my last time that I came through the doors.
You say you still miss, but you do volunteer.
I do volunteer. So, but the good thing about that is that's kind of on your own terms,
Yeah,
And I can say I don't run as much EMS, but I still do it. EMS side. Now, have you ever heard of the monkey story? The monkey call?
No.
Oh yeah, get ready for this.
All right.
Engine 5 again. Great story. Memorial Day weekend. Bruce Lynch is the driver. Jimmy Reardon's captain. I'm on the back. We get called to a 2-year-old choking. 2-year-old choking. That's how it came out. Updating us. Child's not breathing and all. Man, I'm in the back of the truck. Getting the EMS bag. I'm getting the O2 hooked to the bag valve mat, the PD bag, everything. I'm getting everything set. So, I mean, preparing, like this is not good. We're getting calls. The calls it's not good. We pull up. Ladies out front. My baby can't breathe. I'm like, oh gosh. So I'm like, where they at? I'm at the bag. Bruce, getting the truck, everything rigged, and Jimmy's getting his clipboard, and but I'm on it, man. I'm in the house, and I'm like, "Where's your child? Where's your child? Where's your child?" And I go down this hallway, and I see this man at the end of the hallway, and he's got his back to me. And I said, "Sir, where's your child? Where's your child?" And he turns around and hands me a monkey. Now,
what was Bubbles? Bubbles.
So I kind of like for a second like. Okay, here's the monkey's laid out, yeah. And he said, sir, and this dude is bawling. And he says, this is my child. It's just like my child. And, I'm a pet lover. And I'm like, okay, but I'm like, well, I'm not a vet. What do we do with a monkey?
Right.
And I said, I guess you would do the same thing you do as what if it's a kid. So I turn this monkey over, man. I start giving it back blows, and I'm doing chest compressions on this thing. And, people start coming in, and they're like, what do you got, Dave? What do you got? And I said, we got a monkey. And they was like, you got a what? I said, it's a monkey. I said, but it's like their child, and I'm steadily I'm banging this thing. I mean, we're trying to keep it alive, and, but I was, you think 2-year-old child, and get there, and you're like.
Was it clothed like a child?
Had on a diaper like a kid.
Yeah, that's Bubbles. Michael Jackson used to have
nothing. And Bruce, man, we were driving. He was driving the Engine 5 like crazy, getting over there.
Drive like stolen.
You think at worst case
scenario, yeah.
And then
kids always hit home, and then there's a monkey.
So they're making these cars. Have you ever seen the cartoon book?
Yeah, Griff's. I got one. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a cartoon.
I've had to look for it. So my choking experience wasn't a child. It was actually an elderly person. And one of your former co-workers, you mentioned Russell Hayes before.
Yeah.
So this was like after the whole Battle of Potomac situation happened.
Oh, yeah. Across the Delaware.
And we get into that if you want to, but I think it's a great story. But Russell, like, we go into this house, and it's this patient, and their family member's like, hey, my family member's choking, whatever. They're not breathing, not responding, in cardiac arrest. And we're like, well, what did they choke on? And this person's like, oh, they had one French fry. And so we're like, okay, French fry is kind of odd. Well, at the time we could innovate and stuff like that. And so Russell's in there, and he had some forceps or whatever.
Yeah.
And like we're looking, trying to clear the airway, and like he starts to pull it out, like just pulling out like it's like it must have been 5 pounds of fries. And it went from like I'm like, man, I thought you said one fry. And it's like he literally pulling out fries for a day. I'm like, he's like, it won't stop. It just keeps coming. It was like, man, it was just crazy. So that was like one of my choking experiences. I just remember that specifically with Russell Hayes, because he's like, man, he's just like, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. Like, how many fries does this person have? And yeah, we actually got that person back. We got him back. Yeah. At least they had a pulse. So that was a good outcome. But we can get to crossing the Potomac, but your career. When did you decide to go up to captain, and what made you want to take that job?
So that was that's another thing too, is have goals, right? My goal, I guess they said, well, why'd you say I wanted to be a captain. I didn't want to go into the Chiefs ranks. I wanted to be a captain. I wanted to have a crew, my own truck, and so that was my goal. So from Firefighter, they started the technical rescue program. So you had three choices. You could go hazmat, driver, or technical rescue specialist. So you use hazmat specialist, technical rescue
HRS,
specialist.
is that what?
Yeah,
that
HRS, or driver. And those you could go one of those paths, and then that would carry you. Then you were eligible to compete for captain. Driving was okay, but it wasn't my thing.
Some people say it's the best job in the fire department.
And it is.
It is a great job.
I'm not knocking it. It just. I was still fairly young. I was going up. I'd gone up the first time I was eligible, which was 4 or 5 years in. I was going up, and so. But I was, and they had kind of started the TRT team, and so I was wanting to do that aspect of it, because again, rescue is the thing. Ultimately, your goal or the thing would have been is be a captain on a rescue truck. That would have been like your, and that was housed at 5, the TRT team. So I got up for that. What I liked about that is it's kind of like hazmat is today. You drive a work period, but then you got to fight fire, drive. Everybody could still bump over and ride captain. So you were getting the best of all the worlds. So that's what I liked about that. But so I went that route. I told you a while back about Rescue 7 that they had created. I was still a firefighter then, I think I was still a firefighter. I believe. I can't remember, but it was me and Chief Snipley were on it. That we were running out of Station 7. That was a little experimental thing. That was some fun times. But after that, I went up for captain. I'd gone and got my advanced because in my mind I was thinking, they've seen my fire side. They know I'm good on that side, and we were running EMS, but I wanted to have everything I could going up for captain, So I got my advanced certification, and that's when the whole disbanding the rescue truck was, and they were going to put squads in. That's the first time it was Squad 4, Squad 2, and Squad 1 at the time. And to supervise the squads, you had to be an intermediate, and there was only Chief Hall, or Captain Hall at the time, and David Jacobs were the only 2 captains that were had their advanced or intermediate, and there was an opening. I was on the list, and so I was promoted to FD5 is what they called it then. And my first assignment as a captain was I supervised the squads. Had my own call. We ran out of the basement number 5, and I had my crew was John Barnes, Sandy, Tina, Mark Law, Joel, and Brad Grissom. That was the 6 that I supervised.
Man, that's a wide array of people.
Yeah.
So,
which all of them have gone on, to do good things.
How long were you a captain for? Because I know you had a pretty healthy career.
Yeah, I was a captain. So that I was promoted to captain May of 2000.
Okay.
So within about.
So 2000 to 2023, right?
Yeah.
23 years as a captain.
Mm-hmm. And after I stayed as SD5. Again, it wasn't my cup of tea, but I want to be a captain. So, and then I was able to transition over, and I got a spot on ladder 12 on a ladder, because ultimately I want to go to a ladder truck too. I want to do that work. So I got a assignment to go to ladder 12.
So you like a ladder guy, engine guy?
I've always been more on the ladder rescue side. I mean, I don't mind engine work too, but I just always like doing other stuff than just pulling hose going in, putting the fire. I mean, that's cool. But the ladder stuff, I really enjoyed that, rescue stuff, obviously. So.
Yeah. And you're an instructor. You mentioned it earlier. And that's one of my first, run-ins with you was instructing with Durham Tech Academy when I went through Durham Tech Academy before I got hired here. And my one story I remember about you is we were doing search drills. I was trying to tell you this the other day. I believe it was Blair. My squad was in there doing search. And at that time I had been volunteer for a while, and you had knew me from because you taught classes as well. So I think I've had you a couple times for classes, but you knew who I was. So my squad was in there, and Blair was the captain of my squad at the time. So she was running the drill.
Right.
And we're doing search drills. And I guess we were just taking too long. And you're calling on the radio, and she was not answering the radio. And so the next thing I know, I hear you banging on the door. You like, McCoy, if you don't answer that radio, I'm going to get you. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, Blair, answer the radio. You sound ticked off. You were so upset because she just kept ignoring you. And you kept saying, command, command, command. And I will never just forget that day. But how long were you instructing for?
So I started, I got my instructor in 1991. I was still in Greensboro.
Oh,
I got my instructor then, and I've been doing it kind of on and off ever since. Durham Tech. I've done it up at Piedmont, different places. Just I was doing the technical side of it too, but I dropped that and I've always just stuck with Firefighter 1 and 2. And that's another passion that I've kind of always had, is I've always enjoyed the teaching side, watching people grow in their careers, like a lot of people that I taught years ago, and now seeing them to where they're at and evolving in their career.
Yeah.
And that people, a lot of people have different parts of your career you can go back and look at and say, that person, I remember this from that person teaching me or whatever. But I think just being able to see some of these people develop and grow, it kind of makes me feel like that I've done something right, or that I'm doing something right. So,
I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions and then we'll wrap it up here. But I just want to mention, first thing is, you are. Well, let me ask you this first. What would you say your favorite assignment was over the years?
The Engine 5 was great. I loved Engine 5 when I was there. Of course, we had the whole Duke thing with the Duke Carolina burning benches and that kind of stuff. But Engine 2, when I was on Ladder 2, Roger Rojas was my driver. Couldn't ask for a better driver. I know Rev on his cast, he says, Calvin, I'll put Roger up against him too. Two great guys.
Yes.
But Roger was fantastic.
Bossman.
Chris Brown was a firefighter with me. Dennis Stutz was a firefighter.
That's when you was at 16?
No, I was at Ladder 2.
Two, okay.
And then on the engine was Captain King. Elaine was there. McMillan was there. He had some. Victor Snipes was there.
Two's a great station.
Yeah, it's
a really great station.
Chief Snipley was there.
Yeah.
He was chief at the time. So again, our families were the same. So it was good times there. When I was at 16, that had just been built. I had a great Harold Walker.
Harold, not Carol.
Dusty Wall.
Yeah.
And then Purple Haze Russell.
Man, that was a great crew.
Great crew. That's where we crossed the Delaware.
So. All right, we keep mentioning it. I'm going to mention it. Listen, for those that don't know the infamous story about crossing the Delaware, if you know crossing the Potomac from General Washington, just imagine that picture. Station 16, and I'll let you tell the story the way you tell it. Just tell me.
Yeah,
I'm going to just tell it. I'm going to paint the picture. So Station 16 is a new station. They're not really busy, so they have some free time. Firefighters, we like to have fun. We like to pass time. and I'll let you take it from there.
So back then, it was you didn't have the computers and stuff, right, like we have nowadays. So, like Rev talked, you go to a station, you'd have to do map books. You get a call, a road. It wasn't binging up on the computer. It was you went to the map book and you looked it up, and it would tell you exactly how to go. So we had all opened up this station. It was new. Carl had just got promoted captain. He was new out there. Dan Gillespie was a captain. He was out there. But so we just opened it up. And it was about 10 o'clock at night, and we were still working on map books. I mean, I had a great crew. I had a aggressive
bunch of go-getters.
And we fought some pretty good fires out there. But we were working on a map book. Well, we were part of the USAR team at the time,
right?
And so they had gave us some equipment that we had got. It was old inflatable boat, just some old equipment, and it was out there. Really wasn't working too good, but we were just out, and I happened to see a construction helmet over in the corner, like a civil service helmet, and I put it on, and I said, "This is the new fire helmet or something, And Dusty said, "Hey man, we can take this boat, and I can photo it." Dusty's good. Guys that don't know Dusty, this guy can fix anything and can come up with stuff. I mean, he's
very good with his hands.
Yes. So he said, and technology-wise, stuff. He said, I can take a picture of us and Photoshop it to show that we now have a fireboat in the city of Durham. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. So we got everybody together, and we just kind of put some stuff together, some props together, and made it look like we were fighting fire. And Dusty took a picture and put it out there, and I guess the term now is viral. That picture went viral.
It did. It did. And, I thought it was awesome.
The picture, I've got it. I'll show it to you. But that picture went viral. Well, some people don't see humor like we see humor, and it was, it was a lot of stuff was
broke up the band, busted up the band.
Busted up the band. That was the last time the band was together. So.
Which we were lucky at Station 7 to get Russell Hayes because he's an amazing guy and amazing. Yeah. But yeah, last thing I asked you, we talked about advice for young people. We talked about things that this career can do to you, both mentally, physically, and how great it is. Just tell people how great the DFD is and why, if you're interested in the fire service, why DFD is a great place to go for your career.
Well, fire service in general is a great profession. It's a noble profession. Durham Fire Department, it provided for me for 30 years, and it still provides for me to this day. Benefits, but there's a lot of good things here. Just I think what separates Durham a lot from other departments is tradition, one, but two, they let you do your job here. It's not heavily micromanaged. It's still, they want you to be good at it. Durham has always had the reputation of wanting to be good at this job, doing what it takes to be good. And to be good at something takes work.
Yeah.
And so chiefs have always allowed us to develop and work and try new things and figure out things, and I guess people call it be aggressive. They've allowed us to do it, and still, and to this day, still allows us to do it. As we've changed with the times, if times have changed too and stuff, but it's just it's a good place to work. It's good people, and the city supports the fire department. I mean, they do. Money-wise, it's good. I would have never thought the pay rate. I know people say, you never think you get enough pay. I get that. Trust me. When I started, I was $6 away from $16,000 a year. $15,994 was my salary. So, but you don't do this job for the money. If you're coming into the fire service saying that's going to be my money job, you're in the fire service for the wrong reasons. It's not about the money, but they do provide you with money here to where you can have a family. You can make it. So I don't say it's the most of some departments, and it's not the least of some departments, but financially you're able to do, and if you apply yourself here, you can do well. It's but it's a good place to work. It really is. So and if you apply yourself, you can do good things here.
Listen, I always tell people, if you want to do this job at the highest level, and really want to be able to do the job, Durham is the place to be. Like you said,
fight some fire.
You're
guaranteed to fight some fire.
Guaranteed, as Captain DeShazer would say. Now, like I said, with that being said, the micromanaging thing is like the Chiefs are going to let you be firefighters, right?
That's right.
In the words of Suge Knight, if you don't want your producer all up in your videos, talking all over your records, come to Durham Fire Department. You got to worry about them micromanaging you. Nah, Cap, I appreciate your time.
Thank you guys for having me. Patrick, good seeing you again, bud.
Yeah, likewise. I actually do have one question for you.
Okay.
Because as you said, you spent a lot of time out here. You've seen a lot of people come and go. As far as the academy is concerned, you've taught a lot of current and past firefighters. So what is, and as you know, our hiring window opened up yesterday.
Right.
So what is something that that these applicants, people that are interested, what can they be doing over just specifically the next 3 weeks while this window's open to help themselves out, maybe set themselves apart?
Well, obviously you got to be in pretty decent shape, right, to even get the ball rolling. So getting physically fit. The next thing is just I think the testing, if it's still the same way it was, is looking over your math, your fractions, and it's simple testing procedures like that. And I think the city provides you with practice testing. Mm-hmm. Look at that stuff and review that stuff. Just prepare ahead of time, right? Because you are going against people that really want this job. Like other guys have come on here and said, the pool's big. You might not make it your first time, right? So you got to stand out. You got to separate yourself a little bit. So, but get in shape. Look at some of this practice skills. Talk to other fighters. Listen to some of them, what they're telling you to do, and just come in with a all-in attitude, because the academy's tough. It's a lot of hours, a lot of training. You're back in school, being tested every day. The only difference is in school you fail a test and they say, hey, you can do better, maybe send it home to your mom. Here you fail enough tests and you're back in the unemployment line. So, come in knowing ready to go. But like they say, you give me 8 months of your life, I'll give you 30 years in a career that'll be one of the best career choices you've ever made. So
facts.
It's not a lot of time in the big scheme of things. 8 months is not a lot. So,
that's great advice. Thank you.
It goes by fast. It goes by fast. It really does. So.
I can tell you my 20 years went by fast. Well, I don't feel like I've been on for 20 years. I do and I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I've been doing it for 20 years, but I just can't believe 20 years went by so fast. They used to say, it'll go by like that. My first couple years, like, oh, man, nah. But it's here we are, 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years. So, again, thank you for your time. You have a wealth of knowledge. I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, we didn't even know. Hold on. We can't go on. I wanted to make sure I acknowledge you on this because you bought something from Greensboro that we utilize in the fire department today. I just want to acknowledge you for it, and that's the MPDA.
MPDA.
And
some
so,
would call it Love Fund.
The Love Fund. So I can let you explain it, but just quick synopsis. This gentleman right here has created a fund that everybody contributes to when you retire, and it ends up being tax free. And he bought that idea from Greensboro. So if you just want to,
they did this in Greensboro. Basically, when a person retires, old school, they would give you an axe, a new helmet, shiny axe. You put on the wall, collect dust, pass down to generations. This kind of stuff, Well, in Greensboro, and not they still some crews don't do that, but in Greensboro, they started a thing when I was there. I was there and was part of it. But basically, every firefighter just contributes, basically gives like a donation. And then at the end, that donation is presented to that person when they retire. Or the three ways you can get it is retire, medically retire, or if there was a line of duty death, and we have paid that for a line of duty death or for death too. But you basically just contribute. You give that your portion of your donation, and it goes to that. And then when a person retires, it's considered tax free. So.
Yeah, because it's essentially
beats a helmet or an axe.
It definitely does. I can't say exactly what the fun is too right now, but
so somebody told me that it was. I can tell you the first person that got it was Captain Harris, Tom Harris, Pop Harris.
And what was it then?
Like $5,500.
Okay. Do you know what the most recent, or have you heard anybody say anything?
I've heard it was well over 50.
Well over 50. Now again, because everyone's given a percentage out of their check, it's already taxed. That's why it's tax free to the person receiving it. So you get, let's say, 50,000+ tax free as a gift, and that's something wonderful. And obviously, you pay in over 30 years, but you never pay in as much as you get out. So it is a great end of the career. You're retiring, a gift. Now you can go pay off something or buy something. Maybe you're into motorcycles, boats, whatever it is.
And like whenever I got mine, it was presented, and to think that everybody contributed that to you, said, "Hey, Captain, you've made it. Congratulations. Here you go. Congratulations." And that was a pretty big thing. And I mean, obviously, not that an axe wouldn't have been nice too, but that was definitely nice.
Yeah. I'll take the 50 whatever thousand over an axe any day. And obviously, the more people come, the more it increases. And
it's grown. When I got on, it was 11 and 12 had just been built.
Okay, yeah.
And now, I know Travis went into it the other week when he was. They got stations in the 20s planned.
So young folks, if you happen to get hired, it's a one-time thing. They're going to ask you one time.
It's a one shot.
One time. You got one chance to get in. Go ahead and get in. I'm telling you, you're going at the end of your career or whenever, even if you happen for whatever reasons, you go somewhere, you can still pay into it and you can still receive it, even if you're not with the fire department anymore at the end of whatever your career is. So it's a great gesture, and I thank you for that. That's awesome. I know a lot of people have benefited, and I can't wait for my turn.
Yeah, I was young. I came and said, "Hey, we do this in Greensboro. We did this in Greensboro somewhere." And then Gary Pascal, Russ Castle, some of these older guys, when I was presenting the idea to them, said, "Hey, we might could do that here." And then they took it to admin, and it started from there. But yeah, it was a good thing.
Yeah, man. So, well, look, hey, Captain,
thank you guys.
Appreciate you for having us in. Yeah. Yes, sir. Again, the legendary Captain D.Y. Young. Does Patrick got anything for us?
Yep. Thank you, D.Y., for coming in. Appreciate you as always. Always good to see you come back by. And then everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in wherever you are listening or watching. Just subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. That really helps the podcast. Tim, back to you.
You reached another episode of authentic, real, unfiltered. Nah.
Yes, unfiltered, all right.
Yeah. Nah, you reached another episode. This is the conclusion of another episode of Bull City Bravest podcast. Again, I want to thank Captain Young, retired captain here. And again, like, subscribe, share, and we're signing off.